Hi everyone, this is the lab 4 in the Azure Fundamental course. In this lab, we are going to be configuring network access. One of the prerequisites of this particular lab is the lab 3, which is the create an Azure virtual machine. So as you can see here, we need that virtual machine to still be running. So you can see this Microsoft Lens sandbox should still be running. If the sandbox has timed out, you need to redo the previous exercise, which is the create an Azure virtual machine. So you can see. So if you remember, during the course of configuring that machine, we only created the virtual machine and added an extension. Now we added an extension. So with that, now we should have access to an home page. So we want to see how we can actually access or get access to that particular home page from here. So with that being said, here we need to configure network access on that particular virtual machine. And that's what we're going to be doing in this lab. So if in case that maybe after an hour, the sandbox that you have used has been discarded, so you need to recreate that particular lab before the end of that another time frame. Make sure you complete this lab. So you can see this is the previous lab, and you can see I'm going to be using the same sandbox for this purpose. So I need to go back here and use that particular sandbox to complete this lab. So the first thing that needs to be run, is the Azure VM list. This is to list all the virtual machine that is running in our environment. We want to check if that particular virtual machine that we've deployed is still running, and that's that. So I'm going to click this and just paste this guy here, so you can see Azure VM list. So let's check if that machine is still running. So as you can see from what we have here, that particular machine is actually still running. And these are all the properties and also all the other resources that have been created alongside that virtual machine. You can see the OS disk, the tags, the storage, and some other things. So the next thing is to now start with the tasks that we have on this lab. The first thing is to add the IP address. So we need to run the Azure VM list IP address to get the IP address of that particular machine. So that's what's we're running here. So let's wait. So that has been done. The next one is to now run the call command to download the home page. When we created the last lab, the virtual machine, we actually installed an NGN server and set the home page. So that's what we are going to be. That's the reason why we are adding this particular command line. So now let's see. And so I'm going to run this. And so let's wait. So that's done. Um, so at that particular time, you can see you fail to connect, and that means we do not have access, to um that particular system at this time. So the next thing for me is, we can do this is just an optional step, but we can just go ahead and echo, the IP address. So this is the IP address of that particular machine. Then the next thing is to now, copy this particular IP address and see if we can access it. So I'm going to paste that IP address here and see if we can access the home page of that particular web page we've created inside the virtual machine. And you can see the site cannot be reached because we do not have the access, the permission to actually access that particular server. Now we do not have access. So you can see this is the same error we got. The site cannot be reached. So the next tab, so we can just keep the tab open, maybe once we're done with whatever we need to do, then we can just refresh that particular web page. So this is the next thing we need to do. We need to actually list the network security rules. So I'm just going to copy this, paste it. So this explains, AZ network NSG list, the resource group, the query was the name and output it. That's what you can add, what you have here. So that has been listed. So this is the resource group. You could remember we created, the machine with the name my VM. So when the network was created for us, it would have been created with my VM VNet. Then under there we have the subnet. Then we have the NSG. So you can see we have the same output as what we have on the lab exercise. So the next thing is this is the NSG that has been associated with the machine, and that is what we are trying to now edit. So let's do this thing to list all the rules that have been associated with and check what is actually blocking us from accessing that web page. So that's it. So this is the list of all the um rules associated with that NSG. So now we are going to run, the NSG rule is the second time. The primary focus now is to now list the particular port we are going to be accessing from. It's going to be listing the name, the priority of that rule, the port and the access level, if it's allowed or denied. So let's do that. So you can see we have it allowed. Now, the next thing for us is to now create our network security rules, to allow us access that particular web page. So to do that, we need to create a rule that will allow us access that particular web page. So yeah, so you can see the priority here has changed. The priority, we have priority 100. So I've actually explained this. The lower the number, the higher the priority. So this 100 is actually higher than the 1000 priority that has been set on the other rule. So yeah, this is what the CLI command is doing. This is creating an NSG rule within this particular resource group that we have. This is the NSG name. Then this is the name of the rule that we want to allow. That is, this is the name of the rule, the NSG rule we are creating, which is allow HTTP. Now we want to allow HTTP on this port, which is the port 80. Priority is 100, and it's going to be on TCP protocol. And what access do we want? Do we want to allow or deny? And we've actually allowed, here. So you can see here, like I've said, this is being set to 100, and the higher the priority, the lower the number, the higher the priority. In case you have multiple rules on that particular NSG. Now, so what we've done is this NSG that we currently have, this rule that we currently have is if we want to remote into the machine, and that's why we have it on port 22. If there is a need for us to access HTTP or access a website on that particular virtual machine, we need the port 80 which is on HTTP or HTTPS port 443 to be open, and that's what's been set here. So let's check. So let's do this and add that particular rule. So I'm going to copy these to verify that we currently have the port 80 opened. Now you can see we have the port 80 open now. So this should actually give us access to that particular site. Let's try to access the web server. So now let's do this again. We are just trying to do the same thing, the same step we've done before. So you connect time, and now you can see welcome to Azure. My name is VM1. So this is what you see. So if I go back to the site and I reload these, we should get the same thing. And so we've actually enabled access, network configuration access to that particular virtual machine. So that's the end of this lab. Thank you for watching.